Since we announced that we were going to do a live session with you, we had hundreds of people ask questions.
Good, good. I'm glad. I'm really glad.
So we're going to cover all of them today. No,
Oh, yeah, I know.
No, but seriously,
So,
well, how are you?
I'm doing fine. I'm more relaxed now. I always have a moment of trepidation at the beginning of any Instagram or technical anything because I always think I'm going to get on and not do it right. But I see you. We're together, so I'm happy.
It's amazing. Now we just have to cross our fingers that our internet connection works
And just, but yeah. So we're good.
What about on camera? Does that make, I mean, you've been doing it forever, so I guess that's just like easy peasy for you.
Yeah, it is. It is. It really is. It's a second home for me now.
Well, one of the things that I asked some of our clients is like, what is the most impressive thing about Judge Lynn? Like, is it that like mom raising 6, lawyer, Superior Court judge, divorce court, something like 1,600 cases you presided over. And then I had an other, and I can't tell you how many people checked other and called you an influencer on
wow, that's nice.
Relationships, communication, just like walking through the world and how inspiring you are. And so that got me even more excited about today, because we can talk about law, but we can also talk about a lot of ways to sort of help people navigate this tough time.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Sounds like a plan. Let me go. Am I a little dark here? A little bit my surroundings?
I mean, you look great, but if you want to lighten it up, that is.
I think I'm just going to adjust my lighting a little bit.
This is live, folks. So good to see so many of you here. Oh, she's also a cat mom. I did not know that. I think maybe I saw an Instagram post with a cat, but I also, haven't I seen one with a dog as well? You have dogs.
My dog died in May. Oh. So during the pet, now I don't like the light again. One more time, I'm done. I promise. Okay. No matter how it looks, I'm just saying. He died in May, I think, and so we were fostering cats, and then fell in love with 3 of them and just kept them.
Oh, I love it. And everyone's just talking about how you are the Instagram mom.
I'm turning into one. I really am.
So awesome. Okay, ready to dive in?
I am ready.
Okay. The question that we received most for you is, and this is a big one, how do you know when it's time to go? Should you stay in that relationship, or how do you know, like when you've been trying and you've been working so hard and maybe you've gone to counseling, how do you know when it's time to say, you know what, this isn't for me?
It depends on the nature of the troubles that you have. If you're in an abusive relationship, now is always the time.
Yeah.
But now is the time in a safe manner. So it may not be immediately, but now is the time to find their way out, because it becomes the most dangerous as a person gets ready to leave. So that's one section over there. If you're talking a cheat, then you have to determine, was it, because it can happen. It can be a one-off, and you can go to counseling about it. And the question is, can you get over it or not? Assume you were the one that were cheating on. If you can get over it and work through it, you should do that. But if you can't get over it and you're resentful for it, and you've done everything in your marital arsenal, and you've tried everything, so that when you do make the decision to head to the door, you say, there was nothing more I could have done. You don't want to leave having thought, there is more I could have done. And if it's an angry, unhappy marriage, there's staying, there's leaving, and there's the third option, which is significantly changing the nature of your engagement. Now, during the 17th, 18th, 19th year of my marriage, wow, you know what I mean? Just I was on Monique, her.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh.
It was years ago, and I was on a radio show, and she stopped in the middle of the radio. She says, I don't know you, sis, But this is the third time you've mentioned stabbing your husband on the radio, so I just thought you should be aware. And I was like, oh my goodness, like, they were all jokes, but it was just, that's where my head was. We were singing it. I don't go over there stabbing. And he goes, sis, I don't know you, but you're struggling with something. It took us a year and a half, but we fixed it. But so I changed first and encouraged him to change through my change, and he changed. Had he not changed, I would have gone to the door.
Right. So you had to realize your truth. You had to stand
Right.
and
Right.
Which is sometimes really hard when you see your spouse doing things that are, not loving you, not being present in your own lives.
Right. And you have to decide, and you have to try to figure out what you're looking at. Mm-hmm. Are you looking at someone who cares about you, but simply doesn't know the ways and means and how to do it? Or are you looking at somebody who doesn't care about you and simply is existing with you?
Right.
So you have to be able to step back, and you also have to be able to say, am I the source of the problem?
Right.
Because I love it when I'm the source of the problem, because I know I can fix me. Right. I can change what I do. But you gotta be honest with it. And that's part of the, have I done everything to save the marriage, is to take a look at yourself and ask you, am I the source of the problem? And not just because your spouse keeps telling you you're the source of the problem, but if you really are, and there's a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to circle back to cheating for a minute, because if I do, tell me. So when you talked about whether or not to leave or stay with a cheater, I love how you focused on like yourself, the one being cheated on.
Right.
You have to know whether or not like you can get over the resentment. But what about the other side? What about the actual cheater? Like, how do we know, or do we know whether or not it's going to happen again?
I don't think you do know. I don't think you ever know anything. I mean, like that. You can assess the situation. You can go to counseling. You can see what the underlying situation is. But you have to be so okay with yourself to say that I'm not resentful. I'm going to stay. And if he cheats again, or if she cheats again, I'm going to go. I will not fall apart. I will not die. I have this option now. And I don't have to make sure that he never does it again. I just have to know that I am in a place that I can leave if he does do it again.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. That's so helpful. Thank you. Okay. Shifting over to the actual divorce, because, as you know, that's what I do. I've been doing it for 15 years. Now I have this platform to help people do it. How important is it to have your day in court or not? Like, how important is it to get to your divorce and stand in front of a judge like people did with you, or to try to navigate it a different way?
I'm for navigating it a different way. I love mediation. I think that, you get on a court's docket and you're 10 minutes and it's a third party who doesn't care about your kids, doesn't really know you, don't know him, don't know her, don't know any of it, and making decisions without adequate input from you. You can ask, your spouse can ask, and you do it. But if you're in mediation, you can wrangle a little bit, and both of you can decide who's going to do what with the children, understanding that both of you know and understand the kids and what they will respond to, and what they, and how well they do. And I so like it when there is mediation with attorneys attached, so it's not an imbalanced affair. But you do have legal advice to say, okay, this mediation isn't going well. You can always go to court after that.
Right.
But give yourself a shot.
Right. Because not everyone's a good candidate for mediation. I mean, I don't want people that are abusing others to be in mediation. But what it sounds like to me is like you were saying, like, even if you're not the financial breadwinner, even if some of these concepts like dividing retirement benefits are new to you, you can still participate in an out-of-court process.
Absolutely. But you should have an attorney so you're knowingly and understand, well, what does it mean giving up my right to participate in his retirement? What does it mean giving up my right to have primary custody of the children, but have, co-legal custody? you have to understand what all that means in order to either to engage in a resolution that is meaningful and knowing.
Right. So so maybe I'm interpreting this incorrectly, but tell me if not. Like it's important. Like divorce to me is a business transaction. There's so much of, and we know that, but you are dissolving the most complex financial contract of your life. And if there's any complexity, kids or money or support, like you got to know your rights.
Exactly. You absolutely do. And you can't know them through Google ain't good enough. Your girlfriends or your friends aren't good enough because all of them will have gone through a divorce that might be in a different state because everything is different in different states. And so you have to have an attorney in your state or an attorney or access to an attorney who knows what the rules are where you live.
Yes, absolutely. And that brings me to a couple things. One is lots of people have had substantive law questions for you. And I feel terrible because A, we can't get to them all. But
Right.
I think this is an important point, right? Law is different in every single state. And I mean, which is why we have been so deliberate with our rollouts, one state at a time.
Right.
It's so different, right? Like you can't rely on Google. And the second point is friends. So friends want to support you through your divorce, friends and family, and we would be lost without our community. But let's talk a little bit about that. What is that? What perils could there be? Like, when do you know your friend is like taking over?
You know, we used to live in a neighborhood where like half of the people in the cul-de-sac got divorced like it was catching. It was like, I'm disgruntled and unhappy and I share my unhappiness with you. And then I find out, oh yes, you're unhappy too. Well, I'm leaving. Well, you know what I mean? You get swayed by that. You get swayed by the community. And you also will hear stories that are seen through the fearful eyes of other. Whatever jacked up thing happened to you in your divorce will be what I talk to you about. Yeah. But that may not be at all the issue in your divorce. So I'm looking out for this issue that's really not mine because it was yours, and I ignore the real issues that I have. And every divorce is so different. And not even if the money is the same and the retirement's the same and the kids are the same, you aren't the same as I am. There are certain things that I might be willing to let go of for my sanity's sake. You know what I mean? You just
right.
You want to think that hard about it? It ain't that important. Take it. So you've got to be able to really understand where your head is, not just your money and your kids and your house.
Right. So how can you best support like a friend going through something as traumatic as divorce? Because
listen and ask questions.
Okay.
Don't serve as this is what I think you ought to do. This is what, well, what is it? And then ask questions. Well, why do you feel that way? Is it different from the other thing? Because it helps the person figure out what it is they need to do if you ask questions about their reasoning process, not threatening questions. Why would you do that? But okay, so what if he didn't do it? Then what would you do? Help them walk it through in their head.
I love that. I absolutely love that because, I see all the time this best friend that has been so gung-ho and so supportive of divorce, and then the parties get back together.
Right.
Friends instantly alienated. There's like,
you do not belong anymore. You are persona non grata. It's over.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So this question, I'm not sure. I want to ask it because a lot of people did. I don't know if it worked, like if it's something that is within your knowledge, but are the courts really skewed like towards a 50-50 custody? That seems to be on everyone's mind. Like the first thing, for example, that a lot of women say to me is like, I will file for divorce when I'm prepared to share custody 50-50 because that's what the courts are going to do.
Well, I think a lot legislatively or statutorily, a lot of courts want that as the default position. And then they have a myriad of factors that they can, and just, as justice requires, that residue at the end. So I think statutorily, a lot of courts are asked to start there, but adjust that depending upon who's doing what to whom and who lives where and how old the kids are, and all of the factors that have to go into determining where these little people stay. They love 50-50 legal custody, so you both have the same ability to impact their important decisions, but physical custody is very, very different. And my question was always, if you're so focused on 50-50 custody, you're focused on, I get my rights as
Yes.
yes, as opposed to, is that the best for the kids? Is it best for them to go Tuesday, Wednesday, Tuesday, or do all of that? Would it be? It might be best if they stay with my husband during the week.
Right. Yeah.
It might be.
That is what I hear all the time too. Like, these are my rights. I have equal rights to my kids. And like, the bottom line is, you can have joint custody. In some states, it's not even called custody, which I actually prefer. But let's just
Right.
custody, because everybody knows that. You can have joint custody and not have a perfect 50-50 schedule. So
Exactly.
both parents feel like we are equally important. We bring different things to the table, but we don't need to do a schedule that's going to have the kids hopping back and forth if that's
Right.
best for them, especially with special kids.
Exactly. Okay. You got somebody with autism and he doesn't do with change of circumstance, then you got to take that into consideration when you're determining not your rights, but his well-being.
Right. And how you're going to keep that other parent involved.
Right. Yeah, he may be over my house, but there could be FaceTime every day. Maybe you can come up, whatever you need to do to make it love your children more than you hate one another.
Yeah, absolutely. Love your children more than you hate one another. Love it. Okay. Second most popular question that was asked leading up to our Instagram live was, like, as you know, divorce is a process. It doesn't happen overnight. We'd love it to happen overnight, but it doesn't. Yeah. And so when you've got so much going on, kids at home, working from home, divorcing, everything that's happening, maybe economic uncertainty, how do you take care of you? Like, how do you stay as focused and balanced as you can during the divorce process?
I think it's pretty much the same for being in the midst of any stressful circumstance. You have to carve out a piece of your day for you. And it may be as little as 10 minutes of listening to music. I mean, if in a bad situation, treadmill, earphones, that's me, 45 minutes, just to engage your brain in something that will permit you to just forget about it and feel okay. That doesn't mean you're letting anything happen, but you're focusing on you and, focusing on, don't be divorced. Don't be in the process of divorcing all the time. Be in the process of living while conducting your divorce.
Yes. So, I mean, that's hard to do. It's easy for it to take over your life.
Very. Because you're untangling every aspect of your life, from where you sleep, who you share your bathroom to your financial security, to your children. You have to touch every level of your life and untangle it from this other person. So it is all encompassing, which is why you have to make plans. Your brain is not going to automatically just, not dealing with it. You have to make plans to give your mind time to decompress from the pressure cooker that is this event.
Absolutely. So even if you start with 5 minutes, right? Even if you carve out the 5 minutes to walk around outside of your, neighborhood or block,
right.
Or, do jumping jacks or just sit there calmly. And then that was really interesting about everything, not only unwinding, but like all your rituals change. Like if you have coffee in the morning and your spouse is downstairs, or how the kids go to bed. I mean, everything. And we just need to let ourselves go, know that everything is in transition right now. And how do you get comfortable in that transition, in that uncertainty?
I think you have to be comfortable with discomfort for a minute. We tend to want to be comfortable all the time. That's what gets us into all of this not unnecessary, but the soothing that we do, the drinking, the eating, that whatever we do to soothe ourselves, the hoarding, whatever we do. And we have to be okay with a little discomfort. This too shall pass. Let me get through it. If you're looking to soothe yourself, you have to be able to soothe yourself in moments in time. And you also have to realize, what I always do is look at the guy underneath me. In other words, I may be getting a divorce, but I'm getting a divorce in the US of A, and I'm never worried about my food. And you know what I mean? All that kind of stuff. And you can read, and if you have a world view, if you globalize your pain quotient,
Yeah.
you'll feel better about what you're going through. All of those things will affect how you feel.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things that I see in like mediating divorces all these years and litigating is that when it comes to like negotiating an agreement that like works for you, that you can no, because it's never going to be perfect, but like something you can use to like step off into that next better, happier, healthier chapter. Women always give up something first in negotiation. That's what I always see.
That's right. I've never been a mediator, so I didn't. That's very interesting to know.
So that's been my experience. And I like, and not that like men don't do amazing things in mediation,
Mm-hmm.
but that's my experience. And so I'm wondering if you have any like words of wisdom for negotiation. I mean, I know you said ideally you'll have a lawyer with you by your side.
Right.
Most of the people that work with us don't have a lawyer by their side. However, they're consulting with one. They can.
Right.
And so, like, any tips for when you're negotiating, when you're listening to the mediator who's making some recommendations and you want to just like react and go crazy, like how to
Separate how you feel about him from or her from how you feel about the money, because you can find yourself spending $5,000 in attorney's fees fighting over $1,000 vase. So you have to be able to separate how you feel. Are you doing it to hurt the other person, or are you doing it because this is something you really need and deserve? Do not be afraid to give up on things that you really don't want, because that'll allow you to fight harder for the things that you really do. Don't fight for 50-50 and what's fair. Fight for what you need. I mean, you want to fight for what's fair, but be able to, if the fight for fair becomes preeminent,
right.
then you fight forever and it never gets fair. And you're just exhausted. So, fight for fair, but be able to know what you can accept so you can move forward. So you don't stay in transition forever.
Yeah.
Me, and I like some peace. I will give you some of my cash for some peace.
I cannot believe I was a lawyer so long, because like I hate conflict. I will do
Yeah.
to avoid it. And yet, here I am. But what I'm hearing is the importance of preparation before me.
Right.
Like of really knowing your needs, your wants, because maybe you can get a few of those too, and understanding your best and worst case scenario.
Yeah, and also understanding what the finances are. Sometimes in a marriage, one party takes care of all of that and the other party is just along for the ride. And you have to educate yourself about what your financial situation really is, so the other person can't pull a fast one on.
That is,
because you don't know.
so key, so absolutely key. I find that a lot of mediators will push mediation to start even when all the facts aren't on the table. And I think like if there's one time to put your foot down in mediation, it's to say, look, there is no possible way that I can negotiate my way out of a contract if I don't know what the terms are.
Exactly. You cannot negotiate your way out of a contract you don't understand.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And like on that note, there's other people outside of lawyers that can help you understand like what the finances are, what might be the best settlement like solution. I love certified divorce financial analysts, and they are a lot less expensive than lawyers usually.
Yeah, right. And that's really the good thing about having help. The kind of help that you give is that there are lots of avenues or ways to get at something, but you won't know it because you hopefully only get divorced the one time. So it's all new to you. So it's nice to have an encompassing place to go to let you know what avenues of assistance you can get, because there are different ones and they change all the time. Absolutely.
Okay, one more sort of like legal-ish question, and then I know we don't have you that much longer. I want to ask another relationship question, because that's what that's what we all look to from you. So does that, like, win-lose mentality work? I think we've covered this, but like,
Mhm.
sometimes it's really hard to let go of, like when, you know, you want to punish your spouse. Like, is that
Right.
what courts are set up to do? Like, if you really feel like you need that, like, can you expect that the court to punish your spouse?
No, and it can seem very unfair because they can, you know, you go into a court, they, you know, it's just, there's no fault, you
Yeah.
know, so you could have been, your spouse could have been a horrible person, and the court is not interested. So you have to decide what a win is. To me, a win would be living well. You know what I mean? A win would be,
Best revenge.
uh, I'm done. I'm, you know, financially I'm secure. I may not be where I want to be, but it's something I can handle and something I can do, and that I wake up in the morning and I'm
Mm,
okay. You
yeah.
know what I mean? I don't want to beat him. I want to beat the day. I want to be happier more often than I'm not.
Yes.
And
Yes.
beating him is not a part of that equation.
But like, you know, sometimes we like hear from people like, you know, I just spoke to a man the other day whose husband has moved on, is now like in a relationship, seemingly happy, like 3 weeks after the divorce judgment was granted. And like he's still like mourning, like he's still in a lot of pain. And, you know, like what can we tell someone like him, you know, who's looking at his ex and saying, wow, everything looks fabulous for him, but
Well, you can move on too, and I don't mean just romantically. You don't rush into a relationship simply to get over the one that you've been, or else, or in order to stay up with your ex. But you move on. You know, what are all the things that you? As always, you know, man, if I weren't married, I would, you know,
yeah,
do this to the house, or I would change this, or I would go to do this class. Live deeply and well. So it's only a portion of your life and not the sum total of your life. And it's a signal to what could I do now that I'm single that I couldn't do then, and enjoy doing that.
absolutely. Okay, we're getting a couple questions. Are you on Clubhouse? They want to know.
I don't even know what it is.
We'll talk to you
What
about it.
about that?
You would be
What is it?
influencer audio. It's all audio, but
I
we'll have,
don't know nothing about it.
we'll have to get you there. And uh, this one says, what about Black men not being able to see their children? So clearly this question, this guy is frustrated. Is that your
Right,
experience?
right,
You see that?
right. Well, I mean, I don't I don't like to make it racial because it's usually within the race anyway. I mean, it's a Black woman not letting a Black man, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And there are different problems take on a different flavor in my
right.
community. They really do. So, you know, I understand where he's coming from with that, and there is this image of the angry Black woman out there keeping the kids away from it, and I'm quite sure that occurs, and I've had some situations before me where that was actually the case, and you know, I'm fussing at her about you're doing your children damage by denying them a father because you're mad at what he did with you, and you don't have the right to do that, and I think it is extraordinarily detrimental, and you know you leave me. I want to smile when I see you the next day with 10 naked women. It won't bother me. And if it does bother me, I'll go home and cry, but I ain't going to let you know it. The best revenge is living well. Don't get excited about it. You know,
Yeah,
always cooperate on behalf of the children. And if you stay angry, that means he's still important to you. Why would you centralize him like that?
yeah,
Just move forward and move forward with your children. uh, for your children, because to deny them an active father is a sin.
yeah. And you know, my experience in terms of like litigating cases, which I don't like when you have to go to court, but sometimes it's
Right.
the necessity.
Yep, that's all you can do.
For the most part, judges are trying to get to encourage fatherhood and have the fathers be more involved if they're not already.
Right.
And so, like, I hope that's the case across most courthouses. And I know it varies from state to state, but like sometimes that's just the only answer. Um,
Right.
you know,
And you do have to go to court. I mean, and if they are not obeying the court order, sometimes you have to do that. I mean, and you have to try to approach it as calmly as you can in the circumstances and the time. But you know, it's you have that right to have and see your children, and her distress and anger with you on a personal level should not preclude that. And the courts, you know, they're not about that either, or at least
Yeah.
they shouldn't be, and I don't think they are.
I mean, one word of caution is that a lot of courts aren't setting hearings for 5-6 months out right now.
Oh yeah, it's messy. I mean, it's thick. I mean, the dockets are thick. There's a lot going on, and people, you know, we have lost the sense of cooperation as something that benefits us all. It's all competitive. It's all I win, you lose. It's a zero sum situation, and divorce is not a zero sum situation. It it's a journey that you take to separate in a way that's sane and rational and allows everybody to live. And you know, to fight and to win what?
Yeah. Right.
I mean, you know what I mean? You there are situations where you have been hurt, the other party has been horrible, but you're leaving them now.
Mm-hmm.
So that was your response. And your response was to leave them so you could live well better,
Mm-hmm.
live alone better than you were. So focus on that and not getting back at the other person, because at the end of the day, that's an ongoing pain that you can never let go of. And why would you want to live like that?
I think most of us could really sit here and listen to you all day long. But I want to be respectful of your time. And so tell me, like, where can we find you? I mean, you're wildly popular, but where can for some of my clients and users of Hello Divorce, this is new. So where can they find you?
Well, they're old. I'm not on Divorce Court anymore, but I've got 13 years worth of episodes on YouTube,
Awesome.
Tubi, Roku, all over the place. Hulu. I don't know if they have the old episodes, but they have them under Vintage and Classic Divorce Court. I have 2 books out. One, My Mother's Rules, and another, Dear Sonali, Letters to the Daughter I Never Had. The first is about emotional intelligence. The second one's about being young, 20-year-old girls. And if I had a daughter, I have 6 sons. So if I had a daughter, what I would have said to her. And I'm on Instagram. That's where I'm usually. Twitter is a little too mean for me. I'll get on there once in a while, but mostly just Instagram and Facebook at Real Judge Lynn.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much, Judge Lynn.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed it. Have a wonderful day, and I wish you well on your endeavors.
Thank you.
Take care.